please give a warm welcome to AOL's digital prophet, Mr. David Shing. David.
Thanks, brother. Fantastic. All right. You know, it's been a real... Can I have my slides up, guys? That'd be great. It's a real pleasure to be here for two reasons. You know, I didn't observe last time I was in Athens how amazing your graffiti is. The graffiti in this city is inspiring, and it really tells me a story of change. And for a country with 11 million people, there's no better time to think about what's happening beyond than now. But I love this quote. Let's start here, man. Computers are useless. They only give us answers. And what I love about that is that we're actually at a place where we need to make sure, firstly, that you're sugared up and caffeined up, because I have a lot to talk about in a short amount of time. And I love the fact you guys can switch from Greek to English so proficiently, and I struggle with English. But we're going to have a crack at this to see what happens. Now, I'm a forecaster. Shit is hard, dude. I heard your weather was great last week, not so great this week. I don't know, it's all pretty spectacular to me. But as a forecaster, what I do is I look for stuff that's emerging. Then what happens when it starts to feel like it's growing, and when it hits mainstream, I don't give a shit about it. And what I love about this, and the reason I got a call from Constantine and said, hey man, would you come back again? And with what Costa's doing, I said, yeah, because that room's pretty amazing. What you guys are doing and thinking about and how you think beyond retail is inspiring to me. So I'm going to talk about a couple of things in context. We do need to discuss why. You know, when we look at Mario, when he just did his introduction from Microsoft, he went straight into the how and the what. What I want to talk about is the why, and we're going to talk about the what, and we are going to talk about the how, and we're going to do this in this particular context. Do not use the word innovation. That shit is dead. And the reason I say that is it's actually about, in my opinion, invention. Why? Look, the truth is, man, last year, actually no, go back one more year, 2015, the word that was entered in the Oxford Dictionary was this shit. Tears of joy emoji. It wasn't actually a word. We've transcended the word of keyboards, and now we've entered into the word of keyboards replaced with emojis. It's rumored that Apple's coming out with a keyboard that's only emoji. Good luck, man. If you want a response from me, it'll take me about half an hour to get there. But what I love, getting back to innovation and the difference between innovation and invention is this. One is about change. We don't want that. We want creation. You want to be able to create new things to engage with people, to move the products forward. That's really what we're doing. And we can do it in there are three different ways. There are only three things we need to give a shit about. And it's culture, and it's code, and it's creativity. So let's get there. Let's talk about culture. If you grew up understanding what this is, we all had one of these. Sony Walkman. Imagine being a brand called Walkman and having your ass kicked by iPod. This is an example of all culture. When you're only in on culture, you end up with something like this. You'll be left behind. You need to balance, I believe, culture and code, because if you end up only focusing on code, you end up with this, the most ridiculous product on the planet. Now, don't get me wrong. We love Google. But holy shit, if you want no friends at lunchtime, I guarantee you'll have no friends if you wear this thing. However, if you fast forward 18 months, you end up with Spectacle. Now, Snapchat coming out with Spectacle is a really interesting product, because some of you will wear this not because you're part of the surveillance culture. In fact, it's the opposite of that, because you want fun. And so we're seeing very similar technology utilized and being used for different purposes. So this is an example of how you can utilize something as amazing as look-up technology using glasses, but one is opposite to the other. And that's culture and code together. As I said, it's a fine balance. It doesn't matter whether you surf or snow ski. You know what I'm talking about, man. You need to balance between culture and code. All right. However, I do travel a lot. That's true. And the most overused word I hear in our industry constantly is this thing, disruption. It's unbelievable how many people use this word in every discussion that I'm in. I'm like, okay, disrupt, cool. How are we going to do that? They're like, let's use technology. I'm like, oh shit, that's not good enough. The problem is your business model sucks. So we have to focus on your business model and how we can disrupt that using technology, and we're going to get there. So if we also think about the world, these are the words I hear just this year alone. So I've been traveling a bit. I've spent time with clients. I've spent time with brands across the planet. These are all the words and the buzzwords we use. The most abused word this year, I believe, is going to be experience. But I actually quite like that because brand as experience is the new. So how are we getting there? Understanding human needs is half the job of fulfilling it, period, full stop. If we get that right, we're going to create solutions that really do matter. And look, it's interesting because we could do it via Maslow's rule of hierarchy or even this, Harvard School of Thinking. This is psychographic targeting in the wild, man. Makers, believers, achievers, actualizers. This is like, how do you target people psychographically? Or how do you think about Maslow? A different type of purpose. The only difference that needs to be updated on this slide, I think, right now, on this chart from Maslow, is high-speed internet. And then we're good to go. By the way, I have no idea what the hell the password is to the Wi-Fi here, just heads up. So there's that. However, behaviors. Behaviors, technology is changing our behavior, brothers and sisters. But what it's not changing is our needs. Our needs are rooted in us as people, in the DNA of us being human. Like this shit will never be replaced, thank God. You need the human touch at some point in time. And what I do know is that you want to know about the connected human. So for all humans, if technology is changing our need, how are we connecting with humans today? Well, connection's happening like this. Is this the type of person you're trying to connect with? I don't know, man. Crazy. But what I do know is this. One of those types of way of connecting are the realities. You already heard mixed reality, which is HoloLens. We've got augmented reality, which is some of the experiences we've got out there from Costa's team. You've also got virtual reality, and you've got real reality, the shit we're doing right now. I love that reality, man. But look, let's talk about those in context. It's incredible how powerful VR is. Because, well, let's do this as a quick test. Who in here has tried on VR goggles? Okay, perfect, that's about 50%. Who here owns a pair? Can I pick on you for a second? How often do you wear them? Once a week? For how long? No more than 30 minutes. And Mario, I assume it's HoloLens, or it's... From game songs, yeah. So that's normally the answer. Most people are like, who's tried VR? Yeah. Who owns them? Ooh, nobody. And if they do own them, for minutes at a time. Not for hours and hours and hours and gaming and sitting in the basement doing all this shit. No. It's about brand in 3D. But what I can tell you is this is going to be driven up. Why? Because when you're wearing this, you don't give two shits who's around you, man. And it's incredible how immersive that content... In fact, I prefer watching people with the goggles on than the actual content itself. And what I do think is incredible, guys, is this. If you go and watch a film today with me and you laugh at a scene and I cry at a scene, nothing can change. It's a director's point of view. It's called linear story. But when you put these goggles on, you become the director of your own experience. So we're going to be able to understand what people's emotions are. You'll be able to target and refine content based on emotion. How cool is that? But until that happens, you have to think about other ways. This is something that's just a magic mirror. This is augmented reality. I love augmented reality. Why? It's fast, inexpensive, and highly shareable. Look at this stuff. A young lady trying on makeup in real time. It's pretty good. If you don't think that augmented reality is a thing, you have to go check out the Chinese. They're building products that are bringing the physical world to digital experiences together. They're blending those two worlds in these sort of devices that are aimed at children. Why is a separate device aimed at children? For two reasons. One, their hands are too big and too fat. They cover the camera on your camera phone. And tablets are too damn heavy. They smash those things. So that's why they're building out dedicated products to actually engage with them. However, sometimes I prefer real reality. Check this thing out.
This is the Jaguar F-Type simulator. It's just sitting on a 6-axis hydraulic platform here. Roll you around, lift up, down.
How rough are we getting that?
Once you're wearing this helmet, that's really going to simulate exactly what it's going to be like on the track.
Very cool.
Make sure you brace yourself. Good luck.
Okay, Glenn, I'm about to start the ride.
Welcome to Jaguar Virtual Simulator. A full sensory experience combined with soaking hold of the grab handles. Are you ready? ready to experience the power of Jaguar F-Type?
Look, and we all know what happens next. She shits herself. It's amazing what can happen when we think about brand in reality. And that's the cool thing, man. And part of that is IoT. We're all trying to figure out what the world of the Internet of Things looks like. It's a $19 trillion marketplace according to Cisco by 25, so it's a big deal, man. But it's not IoT, it's IoE, the Internet of Emotions. Everything that we've now got in our house that we're wearing in our body that is beautiful, smartly, well designed, are actually designed on emotion. Look at this product. This is a product you can clip to your pillow and it monitors your sleep pattern. It can distinguish the difference between a dog barking and a car alarm going off. So you can do something about the data that it's collecting. You've got this thing called Pacify. This is a smart pacifier that will monitor the number of times a child sucks on a pacifier and will tell you when it starts to teeth. Or you've got this is coming from the Nordics. These are little tiny buttons that do a number of different shortcuts. If this, then that. So what you'd normally use your screen for can be done with little tiny buttons scattered throughout your house. Pretty cool, man. And the other thing we've got are things like this.
Just protect your phone. Others try to extend your battery life. A few have even tried to protect you, the user. But how great would it be if there was a case so intuitive, so powerful, that it could do all three? Introducing Yellow Jacket, the world's first stun gun smartphone case.
Okay, if you missed that, that's the world's first stun gun phone case. So this thing is no longer a phone. This is the visual controller to your world. In fact, I can't tell you the last time I took a bloody phone call on this thing. It's incredible how people are developing technologies around this to make it go beyond retail into other experiences. This is how crazy those experiences could be, though. A personal stun gun system. However, if you don't want to walk around town like everyone else, go somewhere like Asia, because look what they're developing, man. The robot phone. Holy shit, Asians, we're cool. All right, so I just wanted to throw that in to say that, yes, you can look totally different today. But here's the other thing that I love about the IoT space, wearables. Now, wearables are incredible because we're still trying to figure out whether this has a home. They measure everything. But today, as much as they look beautiful, they all kind of do the same thing. They're all measuring things like the number of steps that we have. They can't predict whether we're dehydrated. They're all beautiful looking, but they're trying to figure out whether we really believe this is going to take off. But I do think they will. And some of them look old-fashioned, some of them look, analog. They're beautiful looking products. However, again, they still do a number of things that everyone would expect. However, this is an unusual one. This is one of the first ones that I've seen do something different. This is by Samsung Lab. It's not available yet, but what I love about this is Wearables trying to do something different. It allows you to make calls and to check your voice messages by holding your earlobes. It's using your body as conductive listening technology. It's probably giving you cancer too, but whatever, you can figure that shit out later. You've got this wearable. This wearable you clip to yourself and it connects to your contacts and your calendar and will tell you who you're spending all your time with. You've got this wearable. This is called Pavlov. Pavlov is a wearable that will shock you if you do something you said you don't want to do. So if you reach for that third beer, this thing will just shock the shit out of you. So good luck with that. But what I do think is interesting is that this is where retail becomes interesting. Today, all these smart devices have to be really smart because most products are dumb. Packaging, I'm talking about. Smart packaging marketplace globally today is $250 million. It's estimated to be $25 billion in 10 years. That means that packaging has to be a lot smarter. How is it going to be smarter? And I don't think it's going to be a chip inside the package. I think it'll be ink. So this is RFID ink in a temporary tattoo form. So what would normally require a screen and a keyboard can be done by pressing your skin. And this will last about 2 weeks. So it gives me faith about potentially where smart packaging is going to go in retail moving forward. Pretty cool. All righto. Today, though, there's 290 different wearables in the category of fitness. And they're everywhere. They're all over our bodies. But when I meet with these companies, when I meet with Fitbit and Up and all these other types of wearable developing companies, they don't say they're in the health category. They say they're in the data category. So they're competing with an AOL, a Facebook, a Google. But they're everywhere today, including our clothing like this.
Have you ever noticed that the world's most powerful men don't carry a wallet? In fact, have you ever seen them pay for anything? Well, now you can join them. Introducing the MJ Bale Power Suit. In collaboration with Heritage Bank and Visa PayWave, we've developed the technology to embed a contactless payment chip and antenna into the sleeve of a suit. So now you can pay invisibly wherever you go. And because it's linked to an online account, you can check the balance.
Crazy, right? And check this out. Whoops, let me go back one. It's worthwhile watching.
And is that far up there? Is that right? Yeah, that's it. Check this thing out. It's pretty sick,
If a player is tackled, then you get to feel the physical effect of that. But if a player is nervous before a kick, then you get fluttering, you get that kind of sensory experience.
So here's the deal. You do not need to go to Disneyland anymore to experience 5D. You can be in your living room wearing connected gear that's actually letting you feel the experience of what it's like to be a nervous footballer. And this is what's happening when brands are trying to create an experience. And this is not brought to you by a technology company. This is brought to you by a media company. And even brands are having a crack at it. This is Mondelez. Mondelez have a brand called Trident. Trident chewing gum. They believe that when you chew chewing gum, you can focus. So they got together with a Japanese clothing designer and said, when you put your smart devices into the pockets of this jacket, it'll block out your network and give you no notifications, get nothing, nothing, nothing. So you can focus on human interactions. So that's kind of where some people are headed with the connected wear. The creepiest thing I've seen for quite some time is this. This is called the gaze. This is a 3D dress that will morph and change based on the person looking at you and whether you want to attract or distract them. The dress will change. I'm pretty sure it doesn't make that rattlesnake sound, but I could use it in New York, I can tell you, dude. Lots of creeps I have to deal with. But here's what's amazing. It's incredible today because you've had the privilege to market from cinema screen aspect ratio to television to this sort of shit to this sort of shit. Now you're told to market on these devices. So if the wearable web takes off, square, rectangular, triangular, circular, etc., you have to think about needs differently. You have to think about how we're going to market if this particular category does take off. But what I do know is that as much as we've got all of these, and as much as we're marketing to these, what we have to figure out is that the three things that your business is about marketing to sight, sound, and motion. That does what? Creates emotion. Why? 75% of purchase decisions today are made emotionally. So we sell to the heart to justify to the head, and that's the new. Okay. So if you have a marketing degree, you went to marketing school, you grew up in the world of the 4 Ps. God bless you. And this shit is so outdated. I don't believe this works. This was invented in 1948. I believe it's been updated, though, to this: pedigree, partnership, platforms, and performance. It's an actual reflection of our business culture today because the way that consumers act is radically different. So we have to sort of think about what the metrics are for our business to think about, because life used to be simple in Australia. If you guys are wondering about my accent, that's where I'm from. If you're wondering about the town I grew up in, that's where I'm from. That's the house I grew up in, some little tiny bullshit town in the middle of nowhere. This is my family. I'm one of 10 kids. So, by the way, if you're noticing, I have a new presentation that's all on emoji, so I'm really trying to emoji the shit out of my family, seemingly. But 10 kids, 2-bedroom house, Chinese Catholics, man, we are unstoppable. But what I can tell you is that freedom, independence, and self-expression came to me and my generation when I bought my first car. Today, however, kids are born connected. 37% of children under the age of 2 can operate the swiping devices better than the parent. But when you give them analog, they think that shit's broken. How good's that? We could sit here and watch this for 40 minutes, right? Amazing. Bless them. But here's the deal, guys. When I speak to young adults, there's no such thing as digital. It doesn't matter whether I send somebody money via Venmo or they have a pocket full of cash. It's all currency. It doesn't matter whether we're playing with toy games that are physical or a toy on a digital screen. It's all toys. It doesn't matter whether we're playing games on a console or we're playing games on a board. It's all games. And it doesn't matter whether we're looking at disposable images or we're looking at a billboard image. It's all context of image. And so digital's gone. where there's no separation. That's why these seamless experiences are all about that context. And it's no longer about consumers consuming content. Those days are well over too. You now have to understand that you've got a creator, a critic, and a curator of experiences. Welcome to the slash gen. These little bastards. People that believe they're artists, bloggers, DJs, VJs, fashionistas, ambassadors, amplifiers, affluencers, and if you're lucky, they'll take your brand with them. And you should also give them tools, because they love doing this sort of shit, remixing.
The building is on fire, fire. The building is on fire, fire. I said, no, I wanna get my 3 kids and we bounce out, out, out. I said, hey, we ain't gonna be no fire after this.
So if you're sitting there going, oh, I'm sorry, what the hell is he showing us? What I'm showing you is a young lady in the US who was animated on this news feature. A young girl DJ, 22 years old, Michelle, took this and created this incredible, sensational hit, which could have been brought to you by Eminem. And also crashed the internet right before this did. Remember this from last year?
Daniel, back at it again with the white band.
What probably happened, though, is you didn't see this. So LG, in their wisdom, came out with a new image stabilization 4K camera phone. They said, let's give it to Daniel and his mates to see if they can recreate that sensational hit, but we'll do it in a different version. And what you end up with is something that's so opposed to what they originally did. This was a big fat failure. Nobody probably saw this. So stay authentic with the way that you're creating something based on the way that you're actually producing that piece of work. But a lot of people say to me, look, man, it's not just young people that can create great content, old people can as well. I beg to differ, because this turned up. Now, this is a guy called Joe Griffith. Joe went to Vegas for a week with his wife for a holiday. He filmed his entire vacation. He just forgot to turn his GoPro around. What you end up with is a sensational, unscripted piece of crap.
That way.
Old people, man.
That's the view looking down. See?
Crazy. But just when you think you figured out where to put your brand, another bright light turns up. And people swarm to it. So it's more and more and more things coming at you, because personal expression is the new form of entertainment. So just when you figured out where to go, this is what's happening. People are going to extremes to capture the ultimate moment. And this is the extreme selfies. There are more people dying from extreme selfies than shark attacks. It's incredible to think about this world today. And as I said, there's more coming at you. So you need to reconcile where to actually think about this. Now, the challenge today is that you can buy your way into the open social network. But that's not where it's headed. It's headed to a locked network. Let's just do this as an exercise amongst friends. Who here is on Instagram? Quick show of hands. Thank you. Whose Instagram is set to private? Okay, about 50% of the people that put their hand up. Thank you for that. Here's what's interesting, heads up. When I go to high school kids and I ask them if they're on Instagram, WhatsApp, Snapchat, WeChat, boom, 100% of the hands go up. If I ask them whose is set to private, 100% of the hands stay up. So they're creating a closed, interconnected network where you're not allowed to buy into. Now, why has that happened? Because what's happened is there's been a surge of insecurity. But what I think is the ultimate opportunity is this. Messaging. If you think about messaging today, that's a massive anxiety attack for me, by the way. I send out a message like, please God, someone respond. But what's happening is that in that private connection, people actually buy shit. So in China, we use WeChat. There's no Facebook, Twitter, none of that open stuff, it's closed. Dior, the fashion brand, built this bag. Limited edition Dior bag was sold only in WeChat. Sold out in 48 hours. Cost $4,200. Sold through messaging. Holy shit, man. So if you're sitting there going, what's the lifetime value of a user? Oh my God, when it's permission-based, where you have trust between a person and a brand in a closed, interconnected network, it's incredibly powerful. So it's not about open networks. It's about closed networks of trust. And why did this all happen? Because there was a surge of insecurity, particularly around young women. So as I said, there's no understanding between adults, young adults, between digital and physical. So when you think about cyberbullying or physical bullying, it's the same thing. So we have to think about a different type of positioning. Don't be sympathetic with people, be empathetic. We need to come alongside with them and build solutions. In 2007, I coined a phrase. I said it's going to be defriend, unfollow. People are going to actually not want to actually be with you anymore. We're going to get rid of it and do a stock take of people we're following. Well, I got it wrong, because people are actually locking the network before you're even allowed in. And that's an opportunity to think about. But the values of young adults today are this. They want to seek happiness. They want to spend time with their family and friends. They want to be true to themselves, and they want to be financially stable. Now, those values are more closely aligned to their grandparents' generation than their parents' generation. They just have a different way of expressing it. They're way busy. Their information overload feed people, but they represent $2.45 trillion by 2025. And at that point, they represent 75% of the global workforce. They use 3 devices per day. The number one thing they want to be is entertained. Why? Because they're bored. They're the bored generation. Now, when the sun came up, my parents used to boot me outside and say, don't come in till the sun goes down. But today, kids are born going through a screen. But they're bored, so entertainment is the number one thing they're looking for. Okay, what else have we got? If you think about this, the world is completely overwhelming. You're hit with 1,900 media messages per day. Then it's underwhelming because you can't find what you're looking for. One of the largest contributors to stress today is media overload. The 6th largest contributor to stress is media overload. So the shit you're producing to engage me as a consumer is stressing me out and killing me. Just kidding. The thing we need to really worry about is attention. It's the only thing we need to worry about. You have 24 hours in the day. How good of a job we do at assign our attention to people, that's the gig. And so how are we doing this? We have to do it through this device, don't we? And it's all been in our hands for the same amount of time, 10 years. This is not a young person's game. This is every person's game. This is not a platform. This is a strategy. And the only difference between old people and young people is font size. And old people, they text like that. I didn't get it, but whatever did. So here's the thing, man. We all suffer from the same problem, tech neck. That device is so imperative to us, we can't live without it. But it used to be more interesting way back before smartphones. In 1997, I used to be able to text message Coca-Cola vending machines and interact with their products. We have to get back to experimenting. Why? We have crappy ads. Look how crappy the mobile ads are, and look how crappy these apps are. I live in Tribeca in New York. I fire up my Starbucks app, it shows me a map of North America. I also have bought this crappy app. This is $1.99. I paid for that app. How long can I hold down my thumb for on my iPhone screen? How stupid is that, man? There's millions of them. But the truth is, what we need to do is get back to understanding that what the vast majority of people do on that device is app-driven. So it's all about apps, it's not about the mobile web. And it's also an interesting place because people download fewer apps. You spend more time and more money on the apps you already have. The average number of apps people have on their phones is 40. The average number you use is 5. So it's getting hard, guys. And the vast majority of us will only try a mobile experience once, one time. So that's the power of what we need to do on that mobile experience, is do something delightful. Why? Because if somebody falls in love with you on the mobile device, they become a power user. And why a power user is important? Because as we move away from awareness-based advertising and we move into advocacy, where it's a closed network, that's where engagement's going to happen. Now, why is that the case? Back in the day, this is how we used to buy media. I used to advertise on this sort of thing, 7 places. Great. But today, the average place you have to engage with consumers looks like this. Look at that. That's just some of the places you're expected to have engagements with people today. So the challenge is, how do you target every single person, and how do you have a deep, intimate relationship at the same time? Well, you need to understand that people would rather read about a brand than be advertised to, which means we love brands, we just don't like ads that suck. And so when it comes to things like automation and artificial intelligence, use it wisely. Don't think it's about, knowledge learning. You have to turn that technology upside down and start with a wide story, give people amazing context, and then hand it off to the humans. That's the way you need to think about automated curation. Okay, what else have we got going on? Let's touch data real quick. Data is imperative because without data, there's no creativity. Without creativity, there's no data. And so what it can do, though, is you can run a scenario with a probable effect. So data allows you to forecast and allows you to move beyond retail. Because if you know how people buy things, They don't just want to be gratified, they want to be hyper gratified. And if they want to be hyper gratified, that means it becomes more of a social experience. So look at what Domino's Pizza did. They said, tweet out a pizza, we'll send you one. You cannot do that unless you've collected a mountain of data in a really curious way. So when you collect data, make it really interesting, gamify it perhaps. But the critical thing about data is knowing where somebody is located. When you know where somebody's located, that will give you context to what they're doing. So we've transcended advertising, now we're going to needs. And that becomes very, very important. And we're not there yet, but we will be. And that's the cool thing about it. So don't look to the noise of your data, look to the signal of the data. Cool. It used to be personalized data. Hello, Shingy. Not good enough. It used to be contextual, or currently is contextual. Hello, Shingy, welcome to Athens. That's okay. What I'm looking for is predictive. Hello, Shingy, welcome to Athens. This is what you need to do this afternoon. That's the type of thing I'm expecting for people to do for data to give me a better context, especially when I think about retail. And what else is hot? It turns out that 75% of women under the age of 25 give a shit about brands. And they care more about a brand's principle than its price. So that's where we need to think about brands as an experience. So what are the ways you can do that? Is to create differentiation. Kate Spade does this thing called Saturdays, where instead of online, you can only buy particular products on a Saturday in a store. Kind of cool. The flip side of that is, you've also got other brands like Kit and Ace in New York have changed their Soho location from a retail store to be a startup community. And they're dotted around there are some yoga gear. And they're suggesting that while you're spending all this time in this community, you might want to go out and stretch, so use some of our kit. Pretty interesting. In San Francisco and Westfield Shopping is a division called Bespoke. And what these guys have done is they've started a startup community that are jamming on retail solutions directly in a retail store and running them out to see if they work. So they test and learn all in the same space. I love this ambition of what bespoke means for places like San Francisco. But honestly, the retail store of the future is not what you see today. I believe that physical stores will manifest into change based on contagion inside the store. So if you know that what's hot is top right, why isn't top right at the front door? So I think that retail physical space will change. And also, reinventing products can also help. Carlsberg Beer looked at the ingredients of their product and said, hey, it makes a great shampoo, conditioner, and face tonic. They came out with a limited range of products. So if the beer industry goes down the shitter, they could be in the cosmetics business. This German wine manufacturer, they put their wine in copper bottles. So as you lay the wine down and it gets more better with time, so does the bottle, because it patinas, gets more beautiful. Or this shit, Oreo. It turns out that cultural changes marketing is a thing. Coloring books are a thing. So Oreo went out and said, let's do custom packaging where people can change the fonts, colors, messaging, the whole thing, and it feels like a coloring book. You've got Coca-Cola in Vietnam. They changed this packaging, which is normally trash, to be useful. They changed the bottle tops, so now you have a water pistol, pencil sharpener, bubble blower, repackaged from trash to being useful product. You've got this, which has taken over the globe, Pokemon Go. What normally happens with something that's super contagious is a brand will say, let me put my brand in the middle of this and fuck it up for everyone. So this wasn't the case with Nike. They actually did a limited edition range of shoes using custom ID, which is core to the DNA of Nike, and said, let's go and do a bunch of shoes in the color of the Pokemons. So there's a bunch of nerds running around the country who are all wearing these shoes, who all know each other based on the colors, not the logos. It's cool. One of those things that we have today to think about are two things: hack and make. They're the things that are actually over there, by the way, hacking and making. It's a natural cultural trend. So what could you do to think about hacking your brand, particularly in retail? I'm inspired by this. Check it out.
In many countries, DHL has more locations, more vehicles, and more employees. That's why DHL is faster. However, to communicate this with a classic advertising campaign is expensive. So why couldn't the competitors advertise for DHL? For that purpose, giant packages were taped all over with thermoactive foil and cooled down below the freezing point. this way, the competitors picked up a black package that transformed back at temperatures above freezing and delivered the message in the most beautiful colors.
Pretty cool, right? Brand hack. 3 ingredients to make stuff matter. What are you doing to co-create? What are you doing to connect? What are you doing to recognize? And the fourth one, actually, is reward. And these are all interesting values as us as humans that we want and expect from brands today. And they have to be grounded upon reality, be highly portable, and have sight, sound, and motion at the core of them. Because look, man, it's all about context. It matters. Build good content, put it in smart places. Easy for me to say, super hard to do. But here's the deal. The best way to do that is video. It's everywhere. And you can do it in short form or long form. You no longer have to do 60s or 30s anymore. So a great way to connect with people is that emotional tie of video. Short form, long form. How amazing is that? 6 seconds, not a word spoken. But look, I can tell you guys, it doesn't matter where we go, it doesn't matter what I see, the most abused word in every industry is storytelling. Everybody's trying to find what the storytelling is, but it's less about the telling and it's more about the story. And if you're transparent, you could end up with something amazing as this.
The night can't stand the light. One day I'll fly away, leave all this to yesterday. What more can your love do for me? When will love be through with me? Why live life from dream to dream and dread the day when dreaming?
That is the Christmas gift brought to you by John Lewis, one of the largest retailers on the planet in the UK, anyway. These guys are trying to sell as much product as humanly possible at Christmas time, but they've done it by selling to the heart to justify to the head and not showcased one product. But they remained transparent as a brand, and they allowed the internet to take over and ended up with something as crazy as this shit. Crazy. And if you stay completely transparent, you can even end up with something as crazy as this. So look, guys, it doesn't matter whether you do something as highly polished as the original piece of work by Adam and Eve in the UK for John Lewis, or you do something that's spoof-like through Joe, or you do user-generated content. All it did at the time that was very timely for that brand, John Lewis, it allowed all the brand sentiment to rise because it's a transparent brand. It treats its brand like a portfolio. It's very important. And the cool thing is, man, You know, why I love to take the call and come see you guys as often as I can is this incredible quote by Katharine Hepburn, my all-time favorite, which is this, dude. If you obey all the rules, you miss all the damn fun. Isn't that the reason we became creatives in the first place? Guys, thanks very much indeed for having me. Cheers.